Hello, a very good evening indeed, and many thanks for joining us here on Rwanda Television. These are our headlines tonight. The Ministry of Health says that from the 2021-2022 fiscal year, the operations of the community health workers have been improved on due to the fact that some elderly people are no longer being able to fulfill their responsibilities. This will also go hand in hand with the introduction of the technology into their operations. The Rwandan returnees from the DRC have commended the way they have been received in the country. They are currently at the Kijote Transit Camp in Nyabihu district. Glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa. My name is Martina Abera. The Ministry of Health says that from the 2021-2022 fiscal year, the operations of the community health workers have been improved on due to the fact that some elderly people are no longer able to fulfill their responsibilities. This will also go hand in hand with the introduction of technology into their operations. Some residents and health workers appreciate the work done by community health workers because of the services they provide to them when they are sick.
They really take care of the residents, including pregnant women. When our children are sick, someone can seek help from them. What they do is try their best to prevent death from children and parents.
They help us a lot in terms of family planning, sick children, and they also give us medicine for worms. According to the Ministry of Health, the program of community health workers was launched in 1995 with more than 12,000 community health workers and now has more than 58,000. The ministry says various studies have shown that some community health workers are getting older, which is a barrier to their work. Child and Maternal Health Officer at World Health Organization, Dr. Theopis John Kabuteni, says the work of community health workers should be extended to the youth as well.
WHO is recommending is one of the programs which is called School Health Program. And in the School Health Programs, there are different interventions which can be offered, like information services on adolescent health services, on reproductive health, on mental health, drug abuse, and health promotion and prevention of non-communicable diseases. So community health workers could be one of the cadre to reach out to the boarding schools, but this needs to go beyond the community health workers, where the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health, they need to work together to ensure they put in appropriate interventions, reaching out to the boarding schools. Boarding schools, one, but even those who are not in boarding school, they also need to be reached. And even those who are not out, which are not in school, we call them out of school, they all adolescents or young people, youth, they need to be reached with different health interventions.
The Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Ngamije, says that amongst some of the operation tactics that are being improved on, the way the community health workers are selected is one of them.
hagati y'imyaka 21 kugeza ku myaka 45 ni ikigero cyiza
21 to 45 years of age is the ideal age for a community health worker to be trained in all programs, to have practical skills, and to be able to use technology to make sure that residents in a community are provided with day-to-day services.
Minister Ngamije says the changes will be in line with one community health worker being able to perform various services.
harabavura indwara nka malaria, umusonga, impiswi, ukagira abandi bavura.
There are some that treat malaria or diarrhea, others who treat diseases that have to do with the reproductive health, and others who have to do with health promotion. In the village, having a health community worker perform one task has proven to be not as productive as we thought. So having them trained in all fields with improving the service delivery impeccably and reduce the risk of patients not being treated just because one health worker is not available. For example, one community health worker can have 2 or 3 pregnant women they are taking care of, whilst the other, who have patients with malaria and other likely diseases, is overwhelmed with an overflow of patients. So this new system will help with the proper allocation of tasks evenly.
According to the Ministry of Health, the proposed change will reduce the number of community health workers from more than 58,000 to 35,000. Retirement will be at 65 years of age. East African countries, part of the Eastern Africa Police Chiefs Cooperation Organization, are in Rwanda for a study on how they can establish centers that can help those who have been sexually abused, including children, in their countries.
This is a 16-year-old girl who came to seek help at the Isange One-Stop Center in Kachiru, Kigali. She has a 9-month baby who she gave birth to after she was violated by her boss.
I was a house helper in a family. The man was married and had children. His wife had gone to work and the children had gone to school. He came for lunch around 2 p.m. and he told me to take away the plates after eating. Then he caught me and took me to his room. I remember there was a speaker and it was so loud in the living room and in his room.
The mother and her baby are being cared for as the perpetrator hasn't been caught yet. My child was born prematurely and he was put in an incubator. They continued taking care of both the baby and me until he was completely well. The only problem left was getting hygiene equipment, which I had to get myself. There are 44 Isange One-Stop Centers in the country where services to help victims of sexual and child abuse are provided free of charge.
Rero imibare nkuko nari mbivuze igenda izamuka ariko uranabibona umuntu wakorewe icyaha.
Numbers keep on increasing, but everyone can see how people's awareness on reporting the crime increased, as well as victims seeking help from Isange One-Stop Centers, be it those that have been violated and have been affected physically or emotionally, are taken care of free of charge, but as well as being helped through the process of seeking justice. The number of those who use these facilities keep on increasing, and we are happy about it.
After learning how Isange One-Stop Centers operate, 14 countries in the East African region, part of the East Africa Police Chiefs Cooperation Organization, have decided to establish such centers in their respective countries, according to Gideon Kimilu, the Secretary General of the organization.
Rwanda was recognized by the police chiefs of the 14 member countries about 4 years ago as a country which has been leading in dealing with the gender-based violence in a very holistic way. And therefore, that's the reason why we are here. We want to develop guidelines, of course being guided by what Rwanda has, to help the 14 member countries in the region to establish their centers of excellence to deal with gender violence and sexual and child-based crimes.
From 2018 to 2019, 7,882 cases of sexual violence were registered, which increased to 10,549 sexual violence offenses in 2019-2020 and 13,576 in 2020-2021, according to the Rwanda Investigation Bureau. These figures show that in those 3 years, the number of sexual violence cases received by the Rwanda Investigation Bureau were 32,007.
Thank you, Sam Kalisa, for that report. Rwandan returnees from the DRC have commended the way they have been received in the country. They are currently at the Kijote Transit Camp in Nyabihu district. Precious Kirezi has the report.
103 Rwandans from 36 families, including 15 men as well as women and children, have been received at the Kijote Transit Camp. The returnees have pointed out that security being an ongoing issue for Eastern DRC, in addition to poor living conditions, prompted their return after 28 years, and some of them, unsurprisingly, were born in exile. Our living conditions were not ideal, and it was rare to not hear the sound of gunshots in the area I lived in. We had little to no security, and that is no way to live. They're pleased with how well they have been received upon their return to Rwanda. I'm in awe of how well we're being taken care of. We've been clothed and fed and sheltered at no cost to us. Their stay at Kijote is scheduled to last for the next 2 weeks, after which they'll be given enough financial sustenance to relocate them to where they're originally from, according to a coordinator at the Ministry of Emergency Management.
Bazanahabwa imfashanyo izabatunga mu gihe cy'amezi 3 irimo ibiribwa.
They'll be given assistance to sustain them for the next 3 months, including food, as well as $250 for adults and $150 for children to help them get ahead. 20% of the money will be accessed to help them relocate, and the remaining 80% will be accessed after they get credentials.
Ayo mafaranga akazabunganira nyine mu mibereho yabo y'ubuzima bwa buri munsi ndetse no kwiteza imbere aho bakomoka.
Rwandans vacating the camp will be provided with health insurance facilitated by the state and will get photographed and registered to receive IDs once they've settled into their respective sectors. UNHCR official Francis Okagu says they're indulging in returning refugees from the DRC to Rwanda because the security within the country is impeccable.
Now, this I'm going to bring in front of them for UNHCR in Congo to see how they can have a meeting with the authorities and discuss this issue, that this country is as safe as anywhere in the world.
Thank you.
So, and for UNHCR in Congo to have allowed them to go, because UNHCR does not encourage or facilitate any repatriation when the safety of that returnee is not assured. So we are 100% sure that Rwanda is safe.
According to the ministry in charge of emergency management, since 2017, over 15,000 Rwandans have returned to the country. Precious Chilezi, RTV News.
Thank you, Precious, for that report. Now, on Thursday, Rwanda's Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Donatille Mukabalisa, received and held discussions with representatives of the parliaments of various French-speaking countries. Olive Nete has the report.
While Rwanda is hosting the Interparliamentary Assembly of the Francophonie, representatives of parliaments of various French-speaking countries held discussions with the Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, Honorable Mukabalisa Donatille. The discussions reiterated on strengthening the relationships of parliaments of the countries. Honorable Roch Wamiatan, the President of the Congress of the New Caledonia, notes that he is content about the great transformation of Rwanda after all tragedies endured.
Les discussions ont porté bien sûr un échange par rapport à l'histoire du Rwanda.
The discussions focused on an example on the history of Rwanda and how the institutional authorities with the president have managed for all these years to raise Rwanda in relation to what helped during the genocide. We were really moved to hear the president talk about this period and especially what was done after the genocide and all the work that has been done, particularly the work of reconciliation. And I proposed as the president of the Congress of the New Caledonia to follow our partnership with the National Assembly of Rwanda so that we can also be inspired by what has been done here.
Pour que nous puissions aussi nous inspirer de ce qui a été fait ici.
The second Vice President of the Parliament of Gabon, Honorable Albert Richard Royembo, noted that the discussions were based on strengthening the relationship of parliaments of both countries.
C'était des discussions plus ou moins axées sur nos rapports étroits.
Discussions held were based on the relationship between both countries, the current relationship and collaboration between the two parliaments, and especially on the process, the Forum of Parliamentary Assembly of la Francophonie.
L'actualité, c'est la question de la PF.
Rwanda's Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Donatille Mukabalisa, emphasized on the expected outcomes of the discussions.
Umusaruro ni nyene no gukomeza kushyira imbaraga.
The outcomes expected is to keep strengthening the relationships, especially like we have a particular relationship with Gabon because we recently signed partnership agreements to keep strengthening the cooperation between the parliaments of both countries, and we particularly have good relationships between both countries. But we want to strengthen it, and when we meet like this, it is a good thing because through it we discuss how we can enhance what was agreed upon.
tuzakomeza no gushyira mu bikorwa ibyo twemeje mu masezerano twasinyanye.
Representatives of parliaments of various French-speaking countries are in Rwanda, where they will be representing their countries in the plenary session of the Interparliamentary Assembly of the Francophonie, which will officially start on Friday. Olive Nete, RTV News.
Thank you, Olive, for that report. Now, moving on more into the artist world. Artistry in Africa has not been prioritized, especially when availing access to funding. During the Movement of Creative Africa Summit, RBA's Precious Kirezi had a discussion with Snake Nation CEO Carl Carter about the intricacies of the creative economy in regard to African creatives.
Today by Carl Carter, the CEO of Snake Nation, a culture and tech company based in Atlanta that's there to help young black creators get into the creative economy. How the summit has been going so far, what impact do you think it's having on the people it was meant for?
You know, an opportunity for young people to get their IQ up on what's happening in the creative industry. Most times, you know, a lot of creatives think about what they're making and not necessarily the economy behind what they're making. How does it help them earn a living? And so that's what we're focused on, and I've seen different panels that touch upon that. And so I think that's one of the big outcomes is education, collaboration, you know, and experiences. You know, you want to come, you're creative, you want to be fed with experience.
What action is being taken to make these young creatives more legible to access funding and equity in general?
The creative economy, how do you help stimulate it? And so growing that creative economy can provide millions of jobs and billions of dollars a year in revenue for black and brown creatives. And so that's, you know, that's a big outcome, I feel like, of conversations like this, is that people start to think about it differently. So they can do research, you know, you can learn, take what you learn here, go home, put in the work.
Africa has a long-standing history of depreciating art as a profession, not taking it seriously. Tell your African mom or dad you want to be a musician and do it as a job, or you want to be a choreographer. They're gonna be like, like this is not a real job. Like, it's not serious. You cannot benefit from this. So how do you plan to use this platform to break that stigma?
Snake Nation app. And so our app is focused on generating value using blockchain technology, using cryptocurrency, and other technologies like Interledger to help generate value peer-to-peer. Invest in the creative industries, you're investing twofold. One, you're investing in the actual physical production, you know, film, art, television, music, gaming. These are all massive. Fashion. These are all massive industries. You know, right now it's a big industry worth billions of dollars today in Africa. But in order to close that gap, in order to receive bigger dividends for black people, government needs to invest, private industry needs to invest, investors need to invest, and understand that you can't sit in the youngest continent and one of the, you know, most powerful emerging markets, you know, new continental free trade agreements being signed, 1 billion people in one trade zone, and think that there's nothing there. A massive commitment that we need to live up to young people. You know, you can't say, I'll figure it out. And as an entrepreneur, you better know how to, you know, make a living here while you fund your growth over here, you know? So, you know, no one's going to do it for you, and oftentimes we don't have access to capital. And so you have to bootstrap. So that's what we did. We raised money, and then we bootstrapped the rest.
What advice would you give to the next generation of young creatives to equip them for success in the near future?
Never stop. Never stop. You know, whatever it is that you don't know, you will learn, you know? But nothing can replace your tenacity. You own that. No one can take that from you. You have the capability to decide what I want to do with my time. How do I want to push my craft forward? And so even if you have everything you need, you have people that have everything they need, have all the money in the world and don't have a direction, don't have a vision, and don't have the hustle and the spirit. And so I would just say, if it's something that you're passionate about accomplishing in your life, you just have to go for it and don't take no for an answer, you know?
And on behalf of my news production team and I, thank you so much for sticking with us during tonight's bulletin. Have a great night and stay safe.